Turning to a wrap of the top stories of the day.
We're hearing more from the family of 23-year-old Irina Zaruska, the victim of the deadly light rail stabbing. They're calling it a preventable tragedy and demanding accountability. Their family attorney says they want the accused killer to remain behind bars and face consequences. The family is also pushing for safety reforms.
Reactions continue to pour in after the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, who was shot and killed in a targeted attack while speaking at Utah Valley University. Authorities are now searching for a person of interest.
If you're headed northbound on I-77, be aware that there's a lane blocked for those trying to get onto I-277. Here's a look at the map this morning. A huge backup. Right lane to exit 9B is closed.
And we have normal highs today in the next few days. Then we spike up to 88, back to lower 80s and the upper 80s in general. So a strong end to summer.
And a reminder that the news does not end here. Coming up at 7 on WCNC Plus, today marks 24 years since 9/11. How Charlotte and surrounding towns are remembering those who lost their lives. Plus, Charlotte transit leaders are still facing tough questions following that deadly stabbing on the light rail. And today, Greensboro honors a civil rights icon. How the legacy of General Joseph McNeil is being remembered. That starts in just a few minutes at 7 over on WCNC Plus. We hope you'll join us there. Make it a great Thursday.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on WCNC Plus at 7 o'clock. I'm Megan Bragg. Ben Thompson has the week off.
And I'm Lisa Washington. Right now, we are going to go to the White House. A live look this morning where they just rolled out the American flag in remembrance of 9/11 as the country marks 24 years since that attack. We'll have details on ceremonies taking place today. First, though, we're going to check in with meteorologist Chris Mulcahy to get an update on our forecast for this Thursday. Things are looking good, Chris.
Oh, things are looking amazing. If you love yesterday, you'll love today. We actually technically have less clouds than what we had yesterday, well, depending where you are. 7:04, that's the sunrise time on this September 11th. So great weather for any ways that you're going to remember this day. And there's a lot of events happening around town as well. And Destiny actually was mentioning one that has a traffic issue leading to it. So we'll get to her momentarily. Dallas right now looking gorgeous, just seeing some low level clouds off into the distance. And then some thicker deck of clouds over here in Anson County over around Lowellsville. And heading into Richmond County, we're definitely feeling a big difference because check it out. 67 degrees in Rockingham, 59 degrees here in Charlotte, and even a 6-degree swing from Wadesboro to Rockingham, which aren't too far away from each other. That just shows the power of a thick deck of clouds. Whenever you have a really cloudy morning, that prevents really that heat from the atmosphere to escape up because it bounces right back down. Meanwhile, you have a clear sky, much better chance to cool down as we see the mid-50s, say around Lincolnton. So for your Thursday 9/11 forecast, we are anticipating temperatures to be back to around 80 degrees come 1 p.m. Yesterday we had 82. Today we're going to be about 84, and we're going to hit that time frame really between about 3 and 5 o'clock. And it's dry once again on a sunny to a mostly sunny status. Look where we've been recently. We were at 74 on Sunday, 77, 76, feeling amazing. And then Wednesday at 82 degrees. Now today we're back to the norm. 84 is exactly where we should be for this time of year. And then our lows are also getting a little bit milder as well. 61 degrees, should be about 64 for this time of the season. And then either side of 60 is kind of where we're dancing in the interim. And then our surface map is also showing that we actually have the first legitimate rain here in the Carolinas, and it's still pretty puny overall, but a light rain shower is actively falling right here along the I-95 corridor. So that means that some areas, say around Richmond County, under those thicker clouds, could have, I think, a brief sprinkle. That's pretty much it. It's still way too dry to really get a lot of rain from this. And our surface map also showing that that front that was much closer to the shoreline is now pushing further out to sea. So that's good news for a cloudier beach forecast to give some sunshine just in time for the weekend. Looking in the past, you try not to look behind you too much, but in the weather department, it's always a good idea. On Friday and Saturday, we were super humid. That's that overly humid range. Look where we are, and all you have to know is just that since it is lower in this range, it's going to be dry to comfortable for the most part, but we are at times going to feel sticky. So I think you have that today, again on Friday, and we certainly see it rebound into next week as well. But still, those rain chances are taking a big old break for the next few days. Only a 20% chance on your Tuesday and for your Wednesday. And I think that's going to be a really weak chance as well. Our temperatures overall ranging all over the place. You see our precip chances barely coming up thereafter, and our low temperatures really either side of 60 degrees over the next 10 days. So it looks to be a strong end to summer, certainly feeling summer-like. Let's get right over to Destiny. How are things looking this morning?
Yeah, we did have a situation on I-77 northbound at John Belt Freeway. They zoomed out the camera, so I don't believe the crash is there anymore. It's possible that the 9B exit onto I-277 has reopened. Hard to tell here, but I do believe this is true because we are seeing the backup kind of lessening. It's possible that it is still there at this time. I'll work on following up on that. But as it is right now on the map, it is showing the right lane to exit 9B is closed still. So just, if anything, prepare for residual backups just from this crash about 30 minutes ago. We also have a new crash on I-77 further up north, I-77 south at LaSalle Street. So exit 12, the shoulder is blocked for this. So traffic just crawling by slowly. Going up to the northeast now, good news, this overturned vehicle on Mineral Springs Road at North Graham Street. This situation has cleared. The right lane is reopened. We do have a new crash here, eastbound Harris Boulevard at Albemarle Road. That's your image there, and we do have the right lane blocked in this area, so heads up on those major roadways. Zooming out now, you can see that it is a busy morning already. We're seeing congestion in the usual places, and then here are your AM drive times into the Charlotte area. A little heavier in Gastonia and Matthews on the way into Charlotte.
Destiny thinks 7:05 now, and today marks 24 years since the devastating attacks of September 11, 2001. This is a live look at Ground Zero in New York, where the annual ceremony will take place in just over an hour. People across the country, including right here in Charlotte, are going to come together to remember the many lives lost in the tragedy.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane joins us this morning with how the city is coming together in remembrance. Richard?
Yeah, good morning to you, Megan. Good morning, Lisa. Good Thursday morning, all watching us on the Plus. Here at Romare Bearden Park, an annual event taking place. As you can see, these flags out here, folks already coming out to honor those lives lost, remembering those lives lost. As you can see, the setup is also taking place for this ceremony that will take place later today. And actually in just a little under an hour at 8 o'clock. 24 years. This has been 24 years of this since the September 11th terrorist attacks. In Charlotte, there's going to be this powerful tribute right here on display in Romare Bearden Park. The firefighter Stephen Coakley Foundation placed 2,977 American flags across this lawn. Each represents a life lost on that tragic day. That memorial service I spoke about will start at 8 o'clock this morning, followed by the tolling of bells throughout the day. The solemn sound will mark the moments the Twin Towers were struck and later collapsed, the flight of Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and the attack on the Pentagon. Organizers say this annual remembrance is about honoring those who died and also ensuring the events of September 11th are never forgotten. Listen to several folks we spoke to about these events that are taking part in our area today.
Not only is there the impact of losing almost 3,000 people on that day, but 343 firefighters stood at the base of those towers, looked up, and said, "We can do that." And that's at any level an inspirational story.
It's one of those things where we never want to forget any fallen brother or sister, and doing something like this is if it's the least that we can do, then that's something that we can do, and we just want to keep the memory alive.
Well, I'm hoping we never forget, because at times it seems like we've forgotten this country. I'm hoping we never forget.
Absolutely correct. This event is set to start in just a little bit. Throughout the day, we'll see people. We've seen people already this morning come here and pay their respects to those lives lost, and just one of the many events that are taking place around our area. Guys, send it back to you.
So, Richard, take us back to that day, because for those of us who were alive in 2001, you remember exactly where you were when you learned about the events that had happened in New York.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I'm a New Yorker, as a matter of fact. I remember what was happening. I was working in a television station in Dallas, Texas, when this all happened. Actually producing the cut-ins, what we do in between the like the Today Show, where you see us pop on air, where you'll see Chris and Destiny pop in on the air. I was doing a cut-in, and we saw a plane that hit the Twin Tower. And the rest of the day was surreal. That day, jumped in a car with colleagues, drove to New York so we could do our coverage. I produced our coverage from 9/11, knowing the area, knowing the people. And out there, I just want to say, there are flags out there that I remember. One is a classmate of mine who I went to college with. Every year at this location, I come by and I have a moment with her. Also, 3 firefighters from ladder company engine 34, ladder 21 on my block where I grew up. Firefighters that I came into contact with every day. 3 of them lost there as well. So 4 flags that are here. 3 first responders, 1 person I knew personally here. We don't forget, and that's something important to remember. Well, one of my children was a baby girl who was who was here just 3 years old when this happened. My son wasn't born when it happened, but of course, those are stories you share every year, as we all do, letting folks know how important these lives are and that we will never forget these lives.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Richard. And someone said earlier, when you say don't forget, for those who weren't alive at the time, it's like a message to tell them, hey, don't forget this. But for those who were living, you will not forget that, because you will remember for sure where you were.
And it does seem like everybody has some sort of connection of knowing somebody who unfortunately passed that day in New York. And of course, if you were in New York, you know, you obviously remember the horrific things that happened. Larry Sprinkle, you were here at the time. You were on the air. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Richard was saying that we talk about cut-ins. That's the segment where you go from the Today Show to local.
Right.
So we're sitting, you know, getting ready for the cut-in. It runs about 8:56. So watching the Today Show, I'll never forget, Matt Lauer was interviewing a guy who had written a book about Howard Hughes. The interview was going on, and then he said there was an interruption. He said, we've gotten reports of something is the freight center, there's a fire, something's happened. And they did a break and they came back and they had a picture of the smoke coming out. They said, well, we understand the plane hit it. So that was at 8:46 it hit. It was about 8:52, 8:53 they went on the air, and then from that point on it stayed and it didn't come back to us. But I mean, just the vivid memories of that, of just seeing that enormity of that moment.
For sure.
When no one really knew what had happened.
Right.
I mean, some of the first reports came out, a small plane hit. Because if you're standing on the ground looking up, that is such a huge building, 110 stories. The plane looked small going into it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the one thing I remember from that day is that if you knew someone in New York, like the phones were down, and so you weren't able to get in touch with the people who you know and love, and that was just creating anxiety for so many people, because you didn't know, you know, just the effects of this. Like it was horrible trying to get in contact.
I mean, we all were just devastated by it, and no one left watching that television for you know, we were straight with the network all the way through the next day, and then beyond that as well. But I mean, the moment itself was just something it's speechless. It left you speechless. And to think that they said, well, Larry, we're not going to have local. We're going to stay with the Today Show, and then to sit there and watch that. And then at 9:02 to watch that second plane. I remember I was in our newsroom back here standing looking at a big screen, big monitor we call it. And then to see that plane hit, and one of our producers, I have never heard someone scream so loud when that plane hit. It just, I mean, it was such a sad moment in the history of this country. That's why it's a day of remembrance. And, you know, looking back to all those people who lost their lives, almost 3,000 people to think about that.
And then we can't forget about Pennsylvania as well. I mean, many people, you know, there was the plane that went down.
And then the Pentagon. To see the, you know, the tape of that plane going to the Pentagon. It was just one thing after another. And then the next day, not one plane was in the air.
Yeah,
I know.
When you drove, I remember driving to work, it was almost like, it was silence.
Yes.
Everyone was home. It was such an eerie feeling and such a sad moment in the history of this country. And you know, everyone has some sort of remembrance, whether you were a little kid or whether you were an old guy like me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Larry, thanks so much for joining us and adding that perspective.
And here are some other events that are going to be taking place to remember 9/11. Waxhaw will hold its Patriot Day ceremony. It starts at 8 a.m. in front of the Military Wall of Honor on North Main Street. The town of Morrisville will host a 9/11 memorial walk. It starts at 8:45 this morning at Richard's Coffee Shop on Main Street. And Cornelius will hold its annual service at the Never Forget 9/11 monument. That's at the Cornelius Lemley Fire Station 1 on South Main Street. That starts at 7:45.
Coming up, millions are mourning the death of political activist Charlie Kirk. The latest on the investigation into that shooting. This morning, millions of people are in shock and sadness over the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. He was shot and killed yesterday while speaking at Utah Valley University. Now, this is some new video of people gathering for vigils that were held in several states last night. Mourners gathered at Utah State Capitol in Salt Lake City, listening to words of encouragement, many of them carrying American flags and singing the national anthem.
Authorities say they're now looking for a new person of interest in the shooting and believe the shooter fired once from a nearby roof in a targeted attack.
As NBC's Both Day Mom shows us, Kirk's murder has drawn immense reaction from all over the country as many remember his life and legacy.
In the hours after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was fatally shot in a brazen attack, armed officers swarmed Utah Valley University, while Utah's governor sent this message.
I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination.
Witnesses say immediately before the shooting, Kirk was taking questions from an audience member about mass shootings and gun violence. Moments later, fear ripped through campus.
It was terrifying. None of us knew what was going on.
Kirk co-founded the youth organization Turning Point USA back in 2012. With millions of online supporters, he's credited with being a one-of-a-kind organizer, mobilizing the youth vote for Trump.
TikTok helped, but Charlie Kirk helped also.
I truly believe that President Trump, throughout these last couple of years, overcoming all these odds is one of the greatest stories ever told.
And it was Trump who announced his death on social media, ordered flags to be flown at half-staff, and later gave remarks in a 4-minute video.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagreed.
But on Capitol Hill, most stayed away from politics and leaned in.
Please rise for a moment of prayer.
To swift bipartisan condemnation.
This is detestable, what's happened. Political violence has become all too common in American society.
At kind of a loss of words. It is, a horrendous thing to see.
Kirk's event was the first stop of a multi-state tour. Now it's the last place many will remember seeing him. Kirk is survived by his wife and 2 children. Now back at Utah Valley University, classes have been canceled and the campus is closed. In Washington, Bofta Imam, NBC News.
Just hours after the shooting, the president of the UNC College Republicans joined us on WCNC Plus. He spoke of the impact that Charlie Kirk had on him, as well as other young people across the country.
Doing these kind of open mic, bring your questions and he'll answer them on the spot kind of encounters and debate platforms. That was something that drew myself and millions of other Gen Z individuals to him. And, his impact on students, his impact on college campuses, it's felt all around the country.
Charlie Kirk was a husband and father. He was just 31 years old. Stay with WCNC Plus all morning long for the latest developments in this investigation.
Coming up, our Destiny Richards has a check on the morning commute.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm just up here pretty much spitting the same forecast I did yesterday. We're starting off the cloudiest part of the day, which is the morning. It's a little bit warmer by a few degrees. Yesterday, we dropped down to 56 degrees. We're at 59, which looks to be our low for the morning so far. 44 in Boone, or 43 just adjusted. So yeah, we're anywhere from about 4 to 5 degrees warmer across the area compared to where we were just a day ago. High temperatures around 84 for the greater Charlotte area. Our dew points, well, they've been up and down. We were super humid with temperatures almost at 90 degrees back-to-back days, and then boom, we dropped down to the 70s on Sunday. It felt great Monday and Tuesday. Yesterday was great too, but then now we're starting to get a little bit close to that sticky range. Still not too bad, but it is a little bit noticeably more humid, especially with those warmer temperatures. And luckily, because we increased the moisture, we are not increasing our rain chances. High pressure system keeping us nice and dry, and we're not going to see an isolated shower or storm chance until next Tuesday or Wednesday, so not too bad. Quick look at the tropics, because I actually have something to show you. Now, nothing's going to happen in the near term, but by days about 3 to 7 of the forecast, we now have a 30% chance that this could turn into at least a tropical depression, even tropical storm Gabrielle. Now, after that, one of two things. It continues off towards the west-northwest, or will be curving back out to sea, so we could really have to see once it forms of where it is going to go. But regardless, even if it heads right towards the United States, it's still about 2 days out. So here is your Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Lower to the mid-80s, the hottest day 88 degrees on Monday before we cool back down to the lower 80s the middle of next week. Let's take it away with Destiny Richards for your morning commute.
Yeah, right now you shouldn't have any issues getting into Uptown other than the usual run-of-the-mill traffic, because the accident that was on the right lane exit onto I-277 has since cleared, so confirmed. But just be aware that you'll still be dealing with some residual backups on the southbound side, it looks like, but northbound traffic is looking good right now. Now let's go into some of the accidents that are still lingering. We still have a shoulder blocked on I-77 South at LaSalle Street. That's exit 12. At one point, it looked like it was diminishing the impact here, but it went from yellow back to orange this morning. So just a heads up there. We also have an accident on inbound Beatties Ford Road at Brookshire Freeway. We also have this accident at Mount Holly Road at I-485. And then we're also following our first accident on I-85 this morning, I-85 northbound at Cox Road. And then I also just learned that the right lane is blocked from this crash this morning. So looking widely at the map here, we're starting to see that usual morning congestion, whether you're going to work, whether you're going to some of the 9/11 events happening today. Just drive safely and take your time. We'll be right back after this break.
Well, good morning, everybody. Check it out. We got blue sky off in the distance. Some of us dealing with additional cloud cover this morning, just like yesterday. And that's actually going to be the trend for today, just like yesterday. And it's actually going to be a little bit warmer. This morning, we started off about 2 to 4 degrees warmer from place to place. 84 is going to be the high today, and we're even back in the lower 80s as early as 1 p.m. So rocking the lower to the mid 80s through the afternoon and comfortable in the 70s for the evening. Really perfect evening forecast. I want to show you your 10-10 forecast. That's going to be your highs and lows over the next 10 days. Lower to the mid 80s going forward through the weekend. Our absolute top looks to be Monday up to 88 degrees. Then we're back to the lower 80s, but still rocking the upper 80s once again by day 19 and 20 of September. So we're going to have a summer-like end to summer. What do you know? Low temperatures really either side of 60 degrees over the next 10 days. So the typical mid to late September-like pattern. Destiny, what's going on traffic-wise this morning?
Traffic-wise, it is a busy morning. We've had some changes. We've had some things disappear. We've had some new accidents, all within a span of a few hours. So we're looking at I-77 at John Belt Freeway. There was a crash blocking the exit to get onto I-277, but it has since cleared. Just be aware of residual backups in the area. We're following a crash that's in the shoulder, I-77 South at LaSalle Street, and also the right lane blocked on I-85 northbound.
You are streaming live on WCNC Plus at 7:30. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Megan Bragg. The deadly stabbing of Helene Zaruska on the light rail continues to raise concerns about safety and security in the city, but also highlighting gaps in the courts and the mental health system.
There's been some questions to why DeCarlos Brown, charged for the murder of Zaruska, was out of jail despite his lengthy criminal record and his mental state. Our team spoke with Mecklenburg County District Attorney, who says an ongoing shortage has created a backlog and a domino effect throughout the justice system.
You need beds for that, and you don't have enough. And then there's a backlog, and then I have victims who are actually waiting in our system for all that to take place so those folks can come back and actually make sure that they're held accountable. So yes, there are gaps in the system. Many of them are attributable to a lack of investment in mental health.
DA Spencer Merriweather says if the system is not better funded, backlogs and delays will continue to impact victims and families. Meanwhile, Governor Stein is answering questions for the first time since Charlotte leaders implemented enhanced safety measures on cats. The governor says he is hopeful these changes make a difference, but there's more that needs to be done so everybody on public transit knows that they'll be safe.
I encourage the mayor to surge the amount of law enforcement and security on the public transit system in Charlotte, and I commend her for doing that. But we also have some long-term challenges. How do we make sure our magistrates understand how to effectively deal with people with severe mental illness, psychosis, and we have to have services for those people so that folks do not live in fear.
Republican Michael Whatley, who launched his Senate bid for the 2026 election, is also speaking on that stabbing. He discussed his thoughts on the mental health concerns raised following the stabbing and renewed calls to keep violent criminals off the street.
I do think that we need to resolve the mental health issues. We want to make sure that we have support for people who are going to be there. But at the end of the day, when it comes to violent criminals, we need to make sure that they are not on the street posing a threat to our families and our communities.
Charlotte transit leaders are now facing more tough questions. The CATS meeting last night addressed the safety, security, and whether changes are actually being made nearly 3 weeks after that deadly stabbing.
WCNC Charlotte's Tradisha Woodard was there and talks about those changes with some riders, and they say that they haven't seen.
The train doors slide open and Craig Redenberg takes his usual seat. For 5 years, this has been his way to work. But now he says every ride comes with a risk.
I mean, you see the people on a train all the time that you wonder, what could happen. Irina is sitting in the seat that I always sit in the morning.
It's been 19 days since the incident. That number isn't just a statistic for Redenberg. It's a reminder that safety hasn't caught up with promises.
I actually went from Brooklyn Village Station all the way up to 9th Street, and there was nobody. No security whatsoever.
CAT says they've got 219 security positions with 186 filled. That leaves more than 30 vacancies.
So with a 33 number slot that is absent, why would we not see immediate adjustments knowing that there is a lack there? But then we've also endured, once again, a tragedy, a fatality. Why didn't we see a change in that shift knowing that there's already a shortage there?
There have been changes that have been immediately deployed. But again, the security forces, it's not possible to have a security guard on every vehicle, every day, every hour, all the time.
CAT says they're using technology to help fill in the gaps. They're adding cameras with better views, running audits to evaluate threats, and are working with CMPD to bring in more off-duty officers. But riders like Redenberg say the reality on the train tells a different story.
I think there's something they're not telling us. They're avoiding certain things. And the fact that it was 19 days ago, you'd think they would have been proactive to do something, to at least change the views of the people who ride the train to make them at least think they're doing something to make it more safe. And they haven't.
CAT says its security plan is still evolving, and reaching their staffing goal may not be the finish line. It could just be the beginning. Reporting for WCNC Charlotte, I'm Tradisha Woodard.
We are hearing more from the family of Irina Zarutska. The family continues to call for accountability and systemic change following what they call a preventable tragedy. The family's attorney, Lauren Newton, says the family is demanding the accused killer remain behind bars and face the full consequences of his actions. She also tells us that they are pushing for safety reforms.
We all want the safety measures they're deploying now to have been enacted back on August 22nd. But I think in addition to actually checking whether folks have a proper ticket to ride, we also do have to have other meaningful safety measures to make sure that violent crimes don't continue to happen on the Blue Line.
The family's attorney says they are willing to speak to CATS officials to take a look at options to prevent another tragic incident like this from happening again. Let's check back in with Chris now to get an update on our forecast on this Thursday. Blue skies, sunshine, and great temperatures.
Yeah, we're doing real well. This is going to be another brilliant day. Yesterday, sunny to mostly sunny skies to the afternoon. We're already holding true to that over in Dallas, but not for everyone. So there's a lot thicker clouds the further east you go. This is over here in Lylesville, Richmond County. You've had a thick deck of clouds. Some of you might have even seen a sprinkle or two, but we're already seeing signs that this area of clouds is starting to break, seeing those Carolina blues just up above. So patience, my friends. But what a difference. Those who didn't have as much clouds, you have 54 degrees in Lincoln, 53 in Statesville. Lincoln, you're a little bit more valley-like, so you typically get a little bit cooler in the area in general. But then 68 degrees in Rockingham, that doesn't always happen. That is because of that cloud cover. So big difference from east to west just because of that alone. For your Thursday forecast, however you're doing to remember this day, this is going to be a great one. Great time to be outside, lower to the mid 80s, no rain, barely a cloud at times throughout the afternoon. Seriously, get outside and enjoy it. It is going to be sensational weather-wise. 77, 76. This is where we were on Monday and Tuesday. And yesterday, we got back into the 80s. Now get used to it. We're not going to have a day that won't have a high in the 80s for the next 10. So it is going to be really a typical end of summer. Summer officially is coming to an end on September 22nd, where we can call it fall, y'all. 61 degrees tonight, and then after that, it's either side of 60 degrees is where we're headed for our lows. As far as the rain potential, as I mentioned, maybe over in the Chesterfield and Richmond County, the further east you go, you could see a few sprinkles, but there is some light rain actively falling around the I-95 corridor. This is a bigger deal because we've been so dry across the Carolinas, well, at least for the most part. Those along the shoreline have had some thicker clouds that soon are about to break up because that big old front that's draped over there, that is about to push further out to sea, so we don't have as much cloud cover nearby. Our now and later forecast, we're at 59 in Charlotte, as I mentioned, but we'll be back into the lower 80s before you know it by about 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Sunshine galore, my friends, just a few clouds off in the distance. How we feel has been all over the place, though. It was very humid and quite hot, near 90 degrees on Friday and Saturday. I don't think we can quite get back to that level, but at times you're going to feel humid, a little stickier, especially with temperatures getting a little bit warmer over the next several days. So just kind of keep that in mind. And our rainfall chances a whole lot of nothing. So still great weather. Don't have to worry about a rain shower, thunderstorm sneaking up, ruining that barbecue, delaying any plans over the next 5 days. And even Tuesday and Wednesday, these are very weak sauce rain chances. So I'm not really even confident those come to fruition, but at least that's going to have a better environment that you even have a potential for rain. Last note, I want to talk about the tropics. 30% chance for some development. We have not had anything active on this map since we last had a wave about a couple weeks ago now. This will potentially be Tropical Storm Gabrielle over the next 3 to 7 days, but still a lot of time to see if it's going to make more of that northerly turn or continue off towards the west-northwest. That would affect us more. But coming up, I'm actually going to have some tropical trivia. We're going to quiz our anchors over here in the studio. You can play along at home, so I'll see you soon for Trivia Tropics. But first, let's get over to your morning commute. Good morning, Destiny.
Good morning. We're taking a look at I-85 at mile marker 27. This is at the Belmont Mount Holly exit. Things moving fine here on the southbound side, but the northbound side has been slow and stop and go at times. Right now, it's not because of an accident in this area, but if you go closer to Gastonia at exit 21, you can see the problem. So I-85 northbound at Cox Road, there's an accident. The right lane is blocked here, and it's backed up all the way to just about US 321, North Chester Street for those in Gastonia. So just a heads up there, it is a mess on the northbound side on I-85 at this time. We still have an accident in the shoulder, I-77 south at LaSalle Street, exit 12, still causing some slow impacts in that area. Moving over to the northwest here, Mount Holly Huntersville Road at Coal Oak Drive near Brookshire Boulevard. So Brookshire Boulevard not impacted at this time, really just Mount Holly Huntersville Road. It was orange before. It has gone to medium impact with the yellow there. So some improvements. We did have this icon disappear, Mount Holly Road at I-485. We'll check on that if that's still there, but not seeing any serious impacts. So it's likely that it has cleared. But as you can see, just congestion in a lot of areas this morning. I-85 northbound, I-77 northbound into the Charlotte area, and then I-485 over by Matthews. We'll go ahead and look at our drive times. And as you can see, it's pretty heavy across the area coming into Charlotte.
Destiny, thank you. Well, coming up, we're going to go live to Greensboro for the memorial of a civil rights icon. We're back in just 2 minutes here on WCNC Plus. happening today, a longtime civil rights icon and activist will be laid to rest. General Joseph McNeil was part of the Greensboro Four, whose courageous sit-in at a Woolworth's lunch counter helped ignite the civil rights movement.
WFMY's Giselle Thomas is live at North Carolina and A&T University in Greensboro, where McNeil's memorial will take place today. Good morning, Giselle.
Hey everybody, good morning. Now this morning we're expecting to be able to see whether it's family, friends, also civil rights leader flock here to North Carolina A&T's campus to honor Major General Joseph McNeil. Now the civil rights hero has not only paved the path for equality, but he's also a member of the A&T Four, and he inspired the people around him. I was able to meet one of his close friends of 65 years, Lewis Brandon III. He tells me that he sat next to McNeil at A&T's 65th anniversary sit-in breakfast, and he can't help but think about how they worked together in 1960 to run the logistics for the Woolworth sit-ins. Brandon says that he remembers the most about McNeil is how he not only wanted to take action against the injustices he saw, but he actually wanted to do something about it.
Joe was a very special person. His intellect was the thing that really captured you. And not only the intellect, but his interest in what was going on around him. And often when we were together, verbalizing his concerns about the conditions in the community, particularly geopolitics.
Now, Brandon tells me that he was close with all the A&T Four members, and he says that Greensboro was not what it was now compared to in 1960. He says that it was truly perseverance is what sticks with things today. And something else that I just want to add really quickly, was able to just do an interview with Brandon, and he shares that he's actually going to be a pallbearer today. So it's a really big deal.
And Giselle, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be attending that service this afternoon. Also, we know that this was not the first sit-in of its kind, but it's certainly one of the most memorable. What do you think made the Greensboro Four stand out?
Yes, so from what people have told me all around, it's really the persistence of coming back each day. Whether it was that first day, February 1st, the key thing is they came the second, the third, the fourth. So being able to show that consistency despite the obstacles, despite the circumstances, and making sure that their voices were heard is what truly made the difference in how they're known as the A&T Four.
For sure. All right, Giselle Thomas, thanks so much for that live report. And to put that in perspective, it's not that they were just sitting there peaceful and quiet and all was well. These were people who were being attacked. They were, actually making a statement there by being at that lunch counter.
Coming up, Chris and Destiny have the latest on the forecast and the morning commute.
Welcome back, everybody. Since yesterday officially was the peak of hurricane season, I have prepared a set of tropical trivia questions for us all to answer. Lisa's been super excited about this. Actually, Destiny truly has been excited about this. And the last time that I did this, Megan actually went 3 for 3.
She did.
So let's see.
It was my first one.
All right, so according to NOAA's climatology, which month statistically has the most active Atlantic hurricanes? August, September, October, or all of them are tied?
B, September.
I'm going to say September.
Very good. We're starting off easy and we're going harder.
Yay!
Very good. Okay. Everyone has 1 point. On to number 2. There are 21 names in the hurricane alphabet list, but 26 letters in the alphabet. What letters aren't used?
Okay.
C.
No, C's used.
Wait, this is not multiple choice?
No, this one, you have to think about it.
Are we talking about the ones that have been retired?
No, I'm talking about like, there's 21.
Okay, gotcha.
V is used.
Z.
X.
Z is one of them. X.
Y.
Y.
Dude.
Hang on. We need 3 more.
M.
T is used. No, M.
I feel like those are probably U.
Yeah, that's true.
U is one of them.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. We have 2 more.
One more.
One more.
This letter oftentimes, No.
Q.
Q. Very good. Q-U-X-Y-Z. That was good, though. Everyone gets a point.
I had to
Coming
think
together.
about that one for a minute.
Yeah, because obviously there are not as many Q-U-X-Y-Z names. So
That was
we
what
just
I was
submit
thinking
those.
to myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So an easy list of 21. Okay, everyone's doing great so far. Hopefully you're doing great at home. Let's move on. This one's a little more advanced. Which Atlantic hurricane had the lowest barometric pressure ever recorded? Was it Camille, Andrew, Wilma, or Dorian? Wilma in 2005, Dorian 2019, Andrew 1992, or 1969's Camille?
A, Camille.
I'm going to say Andrew, B.
I'm also thinking Camille.
Ooh, it is actually Wilma.
Wilma.
Yeah, 2005 was a nutty season. That is where Katrina was during that year and other things. All right, and I need to get this last question because this involves all of us. Okay, here it is. Okay. So of all of our names here today, Chris, Destiny, Larry, Lisa, and Megan, how many have been named storms here in the Atlantic?
1.
How many of us have been storms?
3.
2.
2.
Okay, Destiny saying 3 is correct.
Oh, really?
So the last Larry was in 2021.
I knew there was a
The
Larry.
last Lisa was in 2022.
I knew there was a Lisa.
The last Chris was
I knew
last
it was
year.
those
There are no
3.
Megans, there are no
I was going to say,
Destinys.
there's no Megan.
I didn't know there was
We have
a
very
Chris.
unique names.
Yes.
So
Chris habitually is very weak and non-existent and not really mentioned.
I mean, that's a good thing in hurricanes.
in hurricane world.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the hurricane
by
world.
yourself right now.
All right, where do we go from here?
I have no idea. I think I have the 7-day that I was going to show you. So this is our Cherry Hunt Super Center forecast, 7-day forecast. And I'm just quickly showing you because it took a lot of time for our tropical trivia. We have the lower to the mid-80s going forward. 84 degrees, by the way. That is our high and that is our average. That's exactly where we should be for this time of the year. We have 83, 84, and then looks like the hottest days are going to be 86 on Sunday, 88 on Monday. And then, by the way, the Knights' last homestand is Tuesday through Sunday, so make sure to catch one of those games. Looks to be a decent forecast, just a slight chance for rain Tuesday and Wednesday. Only a 20% chance that you could have a storm to end the day. Let's get over to Destiny, not a tropical storm nor hurricane, Destiny, just one with your morning traffic report.
That's right. And I have to say that was a strong forecast, Chris. That is your strength. We're looking at traffic on I-85 at Belmont this morning. Traffic moving smoothly on the northbound side, surprisingly, because we did have an accident over there. It has been reported cleared. This is obviously a little bit more further closer towards Gastonia, I-85 northbound at Cox Road. It's possible that it's still in the shoulder, but it's being officially reported as cleared. But as you can see, still a lot of heavy traffic on the northbound side. And we'll see if there's any updates from that as well, possibly another accident. We do have still an accident having the shoulder blocked on I-77 south at LaSalle Street in North Charlotte this morning. This red just has not gone away, so just a heads up there. You'll just be crawling by. We do still have an accident on Mount Holly Road at I-485, a little bit of a medium impact there. And then going just a little bit further north, Mount Holly Huntersville Road at Coal Oak Drive near Brookshire Boulevard. Not as much of an impact from this one, but still on the map this morning. And I just wanted to get a wider view you to see all the congestion you'll be dealing with today. And that's definitely reflected in our AM drive times into the Charlotte area. 54 minutes if you're coming from Gastonia. Drive safely.
Every day this time, or every Thursday at this time, we always do on this day in history. Obviously, what we are all thinking about is what happened on this day, 9/11, 2001. And we look at those two buildings before it happened. I mean, the size, 110 stories apiece. And then we see what happened afterwards, after the two planes hit the World Trade Center buildings. It's just a day that was just imprinted in all of our minds, regardless of whether we were a kid or on the air here at WCNC. It's Patriot Day. A day we'll never forget, 9/11. And Patriot Day actually was started by President George Bush, and it was 1 year after the attacks on America. It's a day of special remembrance to all those who lost their lives. A day we'll never forget, 9/11, and that's on this day in history. I'm Larry Sprinkle.
Larry, thanks so much for sharing that. Of course, there are a number of events that are happening across our area on this Patriot Day. We remember that day 24 years ago and the people who lost their lives. This is a live look now at the 9/11 Memorial. This is obviously in New York City at the site of where those Twin Towers once stood before the events that happened on this day 24 years ago. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more here on WCNC Plus.
Well, hello, my friends. I'm so happy I'm standing up here with good news yet again. 82 for you in Hickory, 84 in Charlotte. It's about 2 to 3 degrees warmer today. Enjoy that sunshine. We are breaking up some clouds that are a little bit thicker from place to place, but all in all, today is just going to be a warmer day. Very similar afternoon, under sunny to mostly sunny skies for most of us. Overnight tonight, our lows are going to be very similar over the coming days. We're back to the lower 60s, then the upper 50s, then the lower 60s, then the upper 50s, back and forth for the next 7 days of September. Typical low, by the way, should be 64, so below normal in that category. As far as our rain chances go, we have a very weak chance, but it is there for an isolated shower or storm on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then our Jerry Hunt Super Centered 7-day forecast, we have the lower to the mid 80s, mid to the upper 80s on Sunday and Monday, and then lower 80s to the middle of next week. Destiny, what's going on traffic-wise?
Well, traffic is crawling on I-85 northbound in Gaston County, unfortunately, partially due to a crash in the area a little bit closer to Gastonia, but this is a live look at the Belmont Mount Holly area. I'm going to say the shoulder is blocked from this crash because there's still residual impacts, although it is officially reported as cleared. I-85 northbound at Cox Road. Also following some crashes in the Charlotte area. One of them is the shoulder blocked on I-77 south at LaSalle Street. Drive safely out there.
Thank you so much for joining us live on WCNC Plus at 8. I'm Megan Bragg.
I'm Lisa Washington. Today marks 24 years since the devastating attacks of September 11th, 2001. Taking a live look now at Ground Zero in New York City. We're going to show you that where the annual ceremony this morning is going to happen in just a few moments. We know that people across the country, including right here in Charlotte, are coming together today to remember the many lives lost in the tragedy.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane joins us this morning with how the city is coming together in remembrance. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning to you, Megan. Good morning, Lisa. Good Thursday morning to all on this 9/11. This ceremony is about to begin in just a little while. It's set to begin at 8 o'clock. Here are the flags of remembrance at Romare Bearden Park. This annual event by firefighter Stephen Coakley Foundation will honor those lives lost, those 2,977 lives lost on that fateful day, September 11, 2001. As you can see, throughout the morning, there have been people coming out here, pausing and reflecting, just taking time to remember those lives lost, how this country was changed forever. We can tell you what will happen pretty much shortly. There will be an opening ceremony, color guard and things of that nature will happen. There'll be members of the fire department as well as the police department, first responders will be here. Then there will be a bell tolling each time an event happened on that day 24 years ago, starting at 8:46, the time of the first plane hitting the World Trade Center. Then again at 9:03 when the second plane hit, then at 9:37 and 9:59, those times when both of those towers went down. Then at 10:03 another bell will toll for that flight that crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and then at 10:28 a.m. the time when that plane hit the Pentagon. All of those moments will be recognized by moments of silence, of course, and that bell tolling. This event takes place every single year, as you can well imagine. Just one of the events in our area that happened. We actually spoke to people who were involved with this organization and others in the Charlotte region, and they all gave us their feelings about how important it is to never forget what this day means. Take a listen.
Not only is there the impact of losing almost 3,000 people on that day, but 343 firefighters stood at the base of those towers, looked up, and said, "We can do that." And that's at any level an inspirational story.
It's one of those. It's one of those things where we never want to forget any fallen brother or sister, and doing something like this is if it's the least that we can do, then that's something that we can do, and we just want to keep the memory alive.
Well, I'm hoping we never forget, because at times it seems like we've forgotten this country. I'm hoping we never forget.
And you can understand that Union County officer was actually in New York on 9/11, and even if you weren't there at Ground Zero, you know how you were feeling if you were alive on that day, what you experienced, those emotions, the pain, the anguish that you went through on that day. Now, we'll be back in a little bit when the ceremony actually gets underway, and you'll hear some of the speakers and some other things. We'll check in with you guys as that occurs. But for now, we're right here at Romare Bearden Park on 9/11/2025. Richard Devane, we'll send it back to you.
And Richard, we'll definitely check back in with you once that ceremony starts. I think seeing those flags out there and having these ceremonies each year is a way of remembering those lives lost. And also for those who weren't alive during that time, this is an opportunity for them to learn more about exactly what happened there.
Absolutely correct, yes.
All right, Richard, thanks so much. And Larry Sprinkle joins us now. You were actually on the air when this happened 24 years ago.
It was during our morning show, obviously, and we do what's called cut-ins.
Yes.
We go from the Today Show to local weather and news, and we were sitting there waiting for that. And I remember, it was like maybe 8:53, and someone said, "We're going to stay with the network." I said, "What's going on?" I said, "A small plane hit hit one of the buildings in New York, and then obviously we found out what happened. I remember so vividly, Matt Lauer was doing an interview with a guy who'd written a book about Howard Hughes.
Okay.
And fascinating interview, and towards the end of it, he said, we have some breaking news. Do we have that picture? A building's been hit, and we'll be back after a break. They came back from the break, and it was Matt and Katie, and then the vivid picture. And they didn't have a correspondent. They had someone who was on the street on a cell phone from Battery Park describing what they saw, and they said they just heard an explosion. You know what's the amazing thing about the history of the World Trade Center? In 1993, a bomb in a truck went off, killed 6 people, injured 1,000 people.
Right.
And that was actually preparing for what happened later on. But they were hoping at that time that that would topple one tower onto the next.
Right.
So they waited all those years later to do that, obviously, once again.
Yes.
So, I mean, you think about so many people's lives affected by this. We had a meteorologist we worked with by the name of Bob Van Dillen, who went on to CNN network, and now he's with Fox Network doing weather. But he was not here at work that day, but he came running in, and he said, you know, there's 7 buildings on that site.
Yes.
He said, I've got this email from my brother. He showed it to me. He said, I don't know what's going on, but pieces of flaming paper are falling by my window.
Wow.
18 hours later, he heard that his brother was okay.
Oh, my
18
goodness.
hours. What happens, they got evacuated, went to the river, went on a ferry to New Jersey, and lost contact for all that time.
That's what I remember about that day, like having
Yes.
friends and family in New York and not being able to get in contact with them just because of the phone lines were down for so many people there. The images of the posters and pictures, people were trying to find their loved ones. I remember that. And also, people were able to see in real time when the second plane hit the second tower, because at that point, the networks were all in continuous coverage of this breaking news event.
I just saw, and if you have a chance to do this, it's on YouTube. NBC Today show 9/11. I just rewatched that. And watching it, if you look closely, the North Tower, the tower's on fire, burning, and you can see a small blip, and you can see it hit. And then that's the second one right there. I had never really seen that one before. There are other views of it, but this was like live, and no one knew what happened until someone yelled in the background, another building's been hit, and then that was the second tower.
I do also want to say, too, you know, this didn't just affect Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C. and New York. I mean, I remember after that, my parents going out, buying an American flag, putting it up. Everywhere you went, the country was so together, and you just see American flags everywhere. So
it was as we look back at that time compared to the unfortunate situation in the United States and the world today, how divided the world is. At that time, we were united as one, and we were proud to be Americans.
For
we weren't a political party, we were Americans.
Absolutely.
Something to think about.
And that's why it's now Patriot Day.
Yes. That's
All right.
exactly right.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Thank you.
And there are some other events taking place to remember 9/11. Waxhaw will hold its Patriot Day ceremony. It starts at 8 a.m. in front of the Military Wall of Honor on North Main Street. The town of Morrisville will host a 9/11 memorial walk. It starts at 8:45 this morning at Richard's Coffee Shop on Main Street. And Cornelius will hold its annual service at the Never Forget 9/11 Monument. That's at the Cornelius Lemley Fire Station 1 on South Main Street. That all starts at 7:45.
All right, let's check back in with Chris now to get an update on our forecast for this Thursday.
It's been one of the easiest weeks of forecasting I've done in quite some time because it's looked like this most afternoons. And also our rain chances have been at one of these, a big old 0 for multiple days. I'm going to keep up that trend going forward, and it's going to be just like yesterday. And some parts are starting off much cloudier to begin the morning, just like yesterday. So not a lot of changes across our Mr. Sparky Carolina camera network. The biggest change, though, is really the further east you go, where we're just looking around Lylesville, the eastern side of Anson County. Thicker clouds keeping things much milder. That's why it's 68 degrees in Rockingham, 68 in Cheraw. Now we are starting to catch up a little bit. We dropped down to the upper 50s, back to 61 around Charlotte, 58 for you in Hickory, and then 44 still around Boone. So for your Thursday forecast on the September 11th, we have lots of sunshine, mostly sunny skies is the worst case scenario, which is not a bad scenario, and a high temperature right around 84, by the way. And we should be at 84 for this day in climatology. So it is a perfectly normal day. Our lows were a little bit cooler than normal, but hey, we're just splitting hairs here. Now it's still warmer than where we have been, 77, 76. If you love fall, y'all, that was your forecast. Yesterday we hit 82, starting to definitely feel the heat more, and then today at 84. Now we can get the lower into the mid 80s pretty much as the reoccurring temperature range over the next few days, and then eventually you're going to see a downturn for these temperatures, but not right away. I think really the last days of summer, where fall officially begins on September 22nd, it is going to feel a lot more summer-like. Tonight, 61 degrees, still below the norm of 64, and then either side of 60 is where we're going. As far as our rain chances go, this is pretty much your best chance in the Carolinas that we're going to have over the next few days. We have that front that's been stalled out further off towards the east. That's going to remain there, so we're mainly dominated by those high-pressure systems, so that's why it looks a whole lot more beautiful off in the distance there. Just got to get rid of some of those clouds. So our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast, lower to the mid-80s, mid to the upper 80s on Sunday and Monday, and then the lower 80s heading into next week. But you can see days 8, 9, and 10. Realistically, we're getting back to the upper 80s once again for Thursday, Friday, heading into Saturday. So as I mentioned, it is definitely summer-like for the last days of summer. So only appropriate, right? Let's get right over to Destiny, see how things are looking to start off the 8 o'clock hour for your morning commute.
Yeah, at least the sun is shining, the skies are blue, even in the midst of the traffic headaches that we're having. But the good news is that most of the accidents that we've been seeing this morning have disappeared and not many serious ones replacing them. So this is a frozen shot of I-85 in Belmont this morning, but haven't seen any stop and go traffic in the last couple of minutes. Just be aware though that I-85 northbound is still slow if you're heading from Gaston County into the Charlotte area this morning. Still seeing that the shoulder is blocked, I-85 northbound at Cox Road, and as you can see, just a long line of red here extending all the way into McAdenville this morning, and then as you go past that, then you should be good heading into the Charlotte area. But going over to Charlotte now, we do still have the shoulder blocked on I-77 South at LaSalle Street. This just has not let up. Even though it's moved into the shoulder, traffic is still stop and go in this area. We have Mount Holly Road at I-45. This is kind of lessened up a little bit, even though it's still considered an accident on the map right now. And then this is new, Providence Road North at South Sharon Amity Road. Seeing that this might actually be just a traffic light malfunction and not quite an accident, but we'll look a little bit more into it. Here's a wider look at the Charlotte area and all that red and congestion that you might be dealing with this morning. We'll look at the AM drive times into Charlotte, and it's pretty heavy from Gastonia, Matthews, and Belmont into Charlotte. Drive safely.
Destiny, thank you. Coming up, millions are mourning the death of political activist Charlie Kirk. The latest on the investigation. The time is now 8:15, and this morning millions are in shock and sadness over the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. He was shot and killed yesterday while speaking at Utah Valley University. Now, this is new video of those people gathering for vigils that were held in several states last night. Mourners gathering at Utah State Capitol in Salt Lake City, listening to words of encouragement, many of them carrying American flags and singing the national anthem.
Authorities say they're now looking for a new person of interest in the shooting and believe the shooter fired once from a nearby roof in a targeted attack.
As NBC's Both the Imam shows us, Kirk's murder has drawn immense reaction from all over the country as many remember his life and legacy.
In the hours after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was fatally shot in a brazen attack, armed officers swarmed Utah Valley University, while Utah's governor sent this message.
I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination.
Witnesses say immediately before the shooting, Kirk was taking questions from an audience member about mass shootings and gun violence. Moments later, fear ripped through campus.
It was terrifying. None of us knew what was going on.
Kirk co-founded the youth organization Turning Point USA back in 2012. With millions of online supporters, he's credited with being a one-of-a-kind organizer, mobilizing the youth vote for Trump.
TikTok helped, but Charlie Kirk helped also.
I truly believe that President Trump, throughout these last couple of years, overcoming all these odds is one of the greatest stories ever told.
And it was Trump who announced his death on social media, ordered flags to be flown at half-staff, and later gave remarks in a 4-minute video.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree.
But on Capitol Hill, most stayed away from politics and leaned in.
Please rise for a moment of prayer.
To swift bipartisan condemnation.
This is detestable, what's happened. Political violence has become all too common in American society.
At kind of a loss of words. It is, a horrendous thing to see.
Kirk's event was the first stop of a multi-state tour. Now it's the last place many will remember seeing him. Kirk is survived by his wife and 2 children. Now back at Utah Valley University, classes have been canceled and the campus is closed. In Washington, Bofti Imam, NBC News.
Stay with WCNC Plus all morning long for the latest developments in that investigation. Coming up, we're also remembering Hurricane Helene, details on how it's still affecting the environment in western North Carolina. More than $12 million is heading to victims of Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. The Homeland Security Secretary says the grant will cover vital infrastructure and community restoration projects in the hardest hit parts of the state. Experts estimate that Helene caused over $200 billion worth of damage.
After Hurricane Helene devastated parts of western North Carolina, it wasn't just homes and businesses lost. That storm also wiped out nearly 1,000 bee colonies.
WCNC Charlotte's Anna King spoke to a local beekeeper who is still working to help repair what was lost nearly a year later.
When Hurricane Helene swept through western North Carolina, the loss was devastating.
Not just the honeybees, but the bumblebees and all the rest of the pollinators, they were all lost. And there wasn't anything for them to forage. The trees, the vegetation, all that stuff was removed through that storm. So it's reestablishing everything for them.
He says beekeepers impacted lost thousands of bee colonies. And to paint the picture, one fully established hive can hold nearly 80,000 bees, making this loss costly.
They would have to buy all that gear. That's probably somewhere upwards $25,000 or more.
So beekeepers in Mecklenburg County decided to pitch in to help.
Our first drop-off, a total of, I want to say it was 50 boxes of bees.
Carefully transporting bees and equipment hours up the road.
The entrance where the bees are coming and going, we close that entrance up with hardware cloth, and you put them on a trailer, you put them in a van, and you just take them up.
And 1 year later, the work isn't done. More bees are still headed to the mountains to rebuild what the storm took.
Anytime you have a loss, it's like you want to help your neighbor. You feel for them, so you want to help out. Like, what can I do to help?
In Charlotte, Anna King, WCNC Charlotte.
All right, thanks a lot. Well, as we have mentioned yesterday that there's been a big lull in the tropics. Well, what do you know? I think it was listening, because now we have a 30% chance this little wave off of Africa potentially could develop into something, and it's only a 30% chance, but 30% chance up to 7 days out is still pretty significant. And as far as the general flow, there's going to be one of two scenarios. Either this is going to be curving back more out into the Atlantic here. I'll illustrate it for you, even more kind of more like this, or if it's going to continue kind of more of this general path, and at that point it could go multiple directions. But as of right now, it does look like it is really favoring more of the northerly path compared to anything. Just letting you know that we do have, again, a 30% chance. And the next storm is going to be Gabrielle, and then after that it's going to be Umberto. The one thing that we're really looking at as far as any tropic goes is also any stable air, and oftentimes that comes with a lot of the dust layer, and this dust layer is starting to break up significantly. It's still right off the African coast, but you're seeing less over in the Atlantic. So that's going to be a big deal that is going to definitely favor some tropical development over the coming days. So it does not affect the Carolinas in the near term, but just letting you know that there is going to be a possibility for all the above going forward. Now, looking to our long-range forecast for the Charlotte area, here's what you can expect. Normal highs and sunny skies for today. Rain chances, the umbrella is still on vacation, but that summertime surge is going to be with us before you know it. I want to show you a 10-day forecast real quick. We have the lower to the mid 80s over the next few days, the upper 80s on Monday, lower 80s before the upper 80s return again heading into the latter part of next week. So get ready for a big time warm up, typical summertime end to summer on the way. Destiny, hopefully it's a typical morning commute, which is still slow.
Yeah, right now we are seeing some new accidents popping up, and we have a live look at I-77 southbound just to show how busy it is out there. This is just south of Uptown, so whether you're merging on to the exit 9A, B, or C over here to John Belt Freeway, it's going to be a lot of backups there, and then also people traveling south on I-77 as well. We do have the shoulder blocked here in Gastonia, I-85 northbound at Cox Road. Still a lot of backups on the northbound side here. We do have also the shoulder blocked, that is cleared now. I forgot about my little cleared symbol there. This is cleared, I-77 south at LaSalle Street, but as you can see, still residual backups in this area. We also have a traffic light malfunction at Providence Road North at South Sharon Amity Road.
Destiny, thank you. 8:25 now. This is a live look from the Flags of Remembrance event. This is at Romare Bearden Park in Uptown Charlotte. There's a ceremony that's going to start in just a few moments. Of course, we'll bring that to you live here on WCNC Plus.
Who's ready for a sensational day? Now, it depends where you are. Over here in Dallas, beautiful sunny skies. So the further west you go, it's sunnier. The further east you go, say in around Monroe, you're dealing with some clouds. But those are going to erode, and it's going to be a sunny to a mostly sunny one. And it's a little bit warmer than yesterday. Now, barely. We're talking about anywhere from the same up to about 2 to 4 degrees warmer. And now we're at 61. We did drop down to the upper 50s. It's warmer, not in the 30s for you up in the high country. But this is gorgeous. Yeah, even with some clouds off in the distance, it's all in all going to be a sunny to a mostly sunny day, almost just like yesterday. High temperatures in the low to the mid 80s. 84 is where we should be, and that's exactly where we're going to be. So 84 around Charlotte, 85 in Lancaster, and then heading through the overnight, we're back to the upper 60s, the average room temperature by 11 p.m., and it should be fine and dandy heading into tomorrow. A little bit warmer as well, holding on to mainly the mid 80s now through the weekend. Upper 80s on Monday, and then lower 80s, still very comfortable heading into next week. So there will be some stickiness here and there. Next rain chance looks to be Tuesday and Wednesday, but still very, very low. Destiny, what's going on this morning?
Yeah, it's starting to pick up a little bit. We hit a lull and now traffic is busy again. We are seeing this morning traffic just south of Uptown on I-77, southbound side here, northbound side here. If you're going to work, going to a 9/11 ceremony in our area, just make sure that you take your time. Our most recent accident is I-85 northbound at Cox Road near Gastonia.
Thanks for streaming live on WCNC Plus at 8:30. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Megan Bragg. The deadly stabbing of Irina Zaruska on the light rail continues to raise concerns about safety and security in the city, but also highlighting gaps in the courts and the mental health systems. There's been questions to why DeCarlos Brown, charged for the murder of Zaruska, was out of jail despite his lengthy criminal history and his mental health state. Our team spoke with Mecklenburg County District Attorney, who stated an ongoing shortage has created a backlog and a domino effect throughout the justice system.
You need beds for that, and you don't have enough. And then there's a backlog, and then I have victims who are actually waiting in our system for all that to take place so those folks can come back and actually make sure that they're held accountable. So yes, there are gaps in the system. Many of them are attributable to a lack of investment in mental health.
DA Spencer Merriweather says if the system is not better funded, backlogs and delays will continue to impact victims and families. Meanwhile, Governor Stein is answering questions for the first time since Charlotte leaders implemented enhanced safety measures on cats. The governor says he's hopeful these changes make a difference, but there's more that needs to be done so everybody on public transit knows that they'll be safe.
I encourage the mayor to surge the amount of law enforcement and security on the public transit system in Charlotte, and I commend her for doing that. But we also have some long-term challenges. How do we make sure our magistrates understand how to effectively deal with people with severe mental illness, psychosis, and we have to have services for those people so that folks do not live in fear.
Republican Michael Whatley, who launched his Senate bid for the 2026 election, is also speaking on that light rail stabbing. He discussed his thoughts on the mental health concerns raised following the event and renewed calls to keep violent criminals off the street.
I do think that we need to resolve the mental health issues. We want to make sure that we have support for people who are going to be there. But at the end of the day, when it comes to violent criminals, we need to make sure that they are not on the street posing a threat to our families and our communities.
And Charlotte transit leaders are now facing more tough questions. The CATS meeting last night addressed safety, security, and whether changes are actually being made nearly 3 weeks after the deadly stabbing.
WCNC Charlotte's Tradisha Woodard was there and talks about those changes that some riders say they haven't seen.
The train doors slide open and Craig Redenberg takes his usual seat. For 5 years, this has been his way to work. But now he says every ride comes with a risk.
I mean, you see the people on a train all the time that you wonder, what could happen. Irina is sitting in the seat that I always sit in the morning.
It's been 19 days since the incident. That number isn't just a statistic for Redenberg. It's a reminder that safety hasn't caught up with promises.
I actually went from Brooklyn Village Station all the way up to 9th Street, and there was nobody. No security whatsoever.
CAT says they've got 219 security positions with 186 filled. That leaves more than 30 vacancies.
So with a 33 number slot that is absent, why would we not see immediate adjustments knowing that there is a lack there? But then we've also endured, once again, a tragedy, a fatality. Why didn't we see a change in that shift knowing that there's already a shortage there?
There have been changes that have been immediately deployed. But again, the security forces, it's not possible to have a security guard on every vehicle, every day, every hour, all the time.
CAT says they're using technology to help fill in the gaps. They're adding cameras with better views, running audits to evaluate threats, and are working with CMPD to bring in more off-duty officers. But riders like Redenberg say the reality on the train tells a different story.
I think there's something they're not telling us. They're avoiding certain things. And the fact that it was 19 days ago, you'd think they would have been proactive to do something, to at least change the views of the people who ride the train to make them at least think they're doing something to make it more safe. And they haven't.
CAT says its security plan is still evolving, and reaching their staffing goal may not be the finish line. It could just be the beginning. Reporting for WCNC Charlotte, I'm Tradisha Woodard.
And we are hearing more from the family of Irina Zarutska. The family continues to call for accountability and systemic change following what they call a preventable tragedy. The family's attorney is Lauren Newton. She says the family is demanding that the accused killer remain behind bars and face the full consequences of his actions. She also tells us the family is pushing for safety reforms.
We all want the safety measures they're deploying now to have been enacted back on August 22nd. But I think in addition to actually checking whether folks have a proper ticket to ride, we also do have to have other meaningful safety measures to make sure that violent crimes don't continue to happen on the Blue Line.
And the family's attorney says that Zarutska's family is willing to speak to CATS officials to take a look at options to prevent another tragic incident like this from happening again.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Lisa. We are looking at a beautiful day once again. If you loved yesterday, guess what? It's pretty much the same day. We just have a few changes. There's always going to be some minor nuances from day to day, and the biggest one is just that we're moving up 2 degrees. I guess it's not even a big one. It's a very small change. Temperature right now, 61 degrees. Dew point at 57. 57 is fine. 60 is actually okay too. It's a little sticky, so that's pretty much what I'm just going to say about today. Just the warning or advisory for today is that it will feel a little bit more humid by this evening, but a lot more humid by tomorrow. So tomorrow I think is the most humid day that we have in the near term. That's the only one that pops up a green bar. Other than that, we're right on the threshold of it either being a comfortable day or a little bit on the sticky side. But hey, that's still not too bad. Before we used to have graphs like they're on the darker green, representing that, oh, it's just overly gross and muggy. Our rain chances also at a nice little break. There were some signs of rain on the radar, but it was not able to hit the surface. Destiny's traffic map, where we have the weather road index, was even showing a little bit of it, but most of us stayed dry. The only exception were maybe a few sprinkles on the eastern side of our viewing area around Richmond County. Well, now we're going to have to wait until about Tuesday, Wednesday that we see our next wet weather system start to roll on in. So right now we're at 61 around Charlotte, 65 around Albemarle, 57 Salisbury, and 50 right now in Jefferson. Those clouds you see off in the distance are going to break up. So very similar to yesterday. I'm not sure if you paid close attention to the sky. I'm always looking up, just metaphorically and physically. And it's going to be the lower to the mid 80s during the afternoon today. But the sky is going to be either a complete wall-to-wall sunshine, Carolina blues, or you're going to see a few clouds, which would technically only be about 20% of the sky filled up. Also mentioning the tropics real quick. Well, we actually have something to monitor. Now, there's been a lot of waves out here, but the National Hurricane Center is calling for a 30% chance for development over the next 2 to 7 days, and that is well off towards the east. So realistically, it's not until about day 14 of the forecast it's even getting close to the United States. Things are trending a little bit further out to sea, but there's a lot of question marks with this system for the near term. Our highs today, as I mentioned, is going to be around 84 degrees. Our lows are technically all over the place, but it's a small range. We're in the lower 60s tomorrow morning. Then we have the upper 50s, the lower 60s, the upper 50s, the lower 60s. Simple way of putting it, right around 60 degrees each and every morning. And as I mentioned, those rainfall chances are staying very dry in the short term. So our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast, lower to the mid 80s. That's where we're at. Up to 88 by about Monday, and then the lower 80s on Tuesday and Wednesday as the Knights are back in town. All in all, still a great set of days, but it's definitely a lot more summer-like compared to the fall-like days that we certainly had on Monday and Tuesday. Destiny, how has traffic been? Up, down, all around?
Yes, all around for sure. And you can see all around our traffic map here, you can see a lot of congestion. So I wanted to start with this view because you can really see no matter where you're going on the interstates this morning, you want to give yourself plenty of time. I-77 seeing its usual backups, I-85 northbound, but also we have some issues on I-485 as well that we will get to. I want to keep mentioning this accident that is a little old now, but still in the shoulder and affecting traffic on I-85 northbound at Cox Road. So just be aware that I-85 northbound in Gaston County is an issue right now. And in the same area, an accident is on Wilkinson Boulevard East at Wesleyan Drive. This is in the McAdenville, Belmont area. I would say more McAdenville. So this is causing a lot of traffic for people who may be trying to avoid the I-85 northbound traffic. So just a heads up there, not great. We also have the shoulder blocked at Independence Boulevard west at I-277. If you're headed inbound into Uptown, just be aware of that. We also have a little further south a traffic light malfunction causing backups at this intersection, Providence Road North at South Sharon Amity Road. And then going over to the west, an accident in the left lane, Sandy Porter Road South at Brown Airwood Road. This is where we have an image of the backup right there, or the closure. And then we also have a disabled vehicle on I-485 outer ramp to Providence Road. So if you're taking that ramp to get onto Providence, just be aware that a stalled vehicle is blocking the way there. Here's a look at your AM drive times this morning.
All right, Destiny, thanks so much. Right now, we're going to take some live pictures. This is from the Pentagon in Virginia. Of course, there's going to be a 9/11 ceremony actually happening now. President Trump is expected to speak at some point at the memorial service here again. We remember it was Flight 77 that crashed into the west side of the Pentagon on 9/11/2001. 24 years since that fateful day. You can see a number of people gathering there for this ceremony. And there are ceremonies happening all across the country, including right here in Charlotte. But we want to bring you some live pictures just of a few of them that are happening. Of course, we'll continue to monitor this and all of those ceremonies.
Happening right now, the Queen City honoring those who sacrificed their lives and the victims of the 9/11 attack, today marking 24 years since the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon.
This is a live look now at the Flags of Remembrance event. This is in Uptown Charlotte, of course, at Romare Bearden Park. The firefighter Stephen Coakley Foundation placed 2,977 American flags across the lawn. We'll show those to you, each representing a life lost on that tragic day. And they're going to be ringing the bells. This is supposed to happen at 8:45, 8:46, so just in a couple of minutes, marking the moments when the Twin Towers were hit and later collapsed, and then the crash of Flight 93 that happened in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and also the attack on the Pentagon. Now, each time marking those attacks, that first bell is supposed to ring at 8:45. So we're going to just stay with this picture for a while. Richard Devane is actually there at that ceremony this morning. We don't see any folks, obviously, right there in front of the microphone, but we'll continue to watch this and hopefully we'll bring it to you live here on WCNC Plus and listen again. This is is the Flags of Remembrance ceremony that's happening in Uptown this morning. As we've been saying, Megan, there are a number of ceremonies happening, not only in our area, but across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have some locally. We have some in Waxhaw, Morrisville, and also Cornelius is what we've been saying too. So there's a lot going on here if you want to get out to those memorials today. It's a very important day, like we were saying, not to just remember the lives lost, but, you know, coming together as a country. As you were saying, this is known as Patriot Day today. And it looks like they're coming up now.
Let's listen in.
In memory of American Flight 11, crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The Stephen Coakley Foundation was named in memory of Stephen Coakley, my brother-in-law, who was killed on 9/11. Each year, 2 members of his engine company come down to ring the bell. Today we have Matt Lebo, Nolan Murray, both members of Engine 217, who will ring the bell. After the bell rings, we will hold a moment of silence. The next bell will toll at 9:03 when United Flight 175 crashed into the South Tower.
We have been listening in and observing the moment of silence there. This is ceremony Flags of Remembrance in Uptown this morning. They're going to be ringing the bell many times, obviously marking the tragic events of 9/11, 2001, 8:46. You heard that first bell toll there. Then will happen again, as you heard, at 9:03, 9:37, 9:59, 10:03, and 10:28. So again, we're remembering when those planes crashed into the Twin Towers, as well as in Pennsylvania, and of course the western side of the Pentagon. Larry Sprinkle joining us again now, and you know, it's something. It seems so simple, but it's so important that we do this on this day so that we do not forget.
Right.
I had a chance to do that ceremony back in 2017 with some of the firefighters who came down from New York City, and it's a moment that when you're standing there next to those firefighters who came here, some living here in the Charlotte area, to be to witness that, the power, the emotion, and how enormous the situation is, that we all are touched by that, every single American.
To perform God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet
member of the Charlotte Opera there singing God Bless America. We heard so many tributes as part of this ceremony. And I just remember then 24 years ago, do you remember, Larry, the members of Congress who were standing in Washington singing that night? Do you remember that?
It was, that was a very touching moment, and to show the unity of this country at that time.
Yeah.
Very powerful moment.
For sure. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to continue to bring you live video from these ceremonies happening across the country, including in our area, as we remember the tragic events of 9/11/2001.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to WCNC Plus. We have a traffic update for you at 8:53. This is traffic at I-77 southbound near Uptown this morning. Whether you're going into Uptown for work, you're attending that 9/11 ceremony that's going on in Romero Bearden Park, just be aware lots of heavy traffic in this area, as well as people passing by Uptown and heading southbound. Now, this is a look at traffic across the area. Again, up and down I-77, a lot going on, as well as on I-45 out near Matthews, I-85 northbound near Gastonia. The good news is this crash that was at Cox Road has officially cleared on I-85. However, there's still a problem on Wilkinson Boulevard East at Wesleyan Drive right here. There's a little bit of a slow impact there, a little bit of stop and go traffic as well. So not completely out of the woods if you're in Gaston County. We do have an accident that has the shoulder blocked on Independence Boulevard inbound at I-277. Just lots of red inbound on Independence right now. And then we also have a left lane blocked here, Sandy Porter Road South at Brown Greer Road. So just drive safely out there.
All right, Destiny, thanks so much. And we're going live now to New York City. This is for the annual 9/11 ceremony that's happening right now there at Ground Zero. I think we're going to listen into this for just a few moments.
Patrick Michael Arenos.
David Gregory Arche.
Michael George Archinsky.
Louis Arena.
Barbara Jean Aristegui.
Adam P. Arias.
Michael J. Armstrong.
Jack Charles Aaron.
Joshua Todd Aaron.
Richard Avery Arano.
Myra Joy.
And as you can hear, there are people reading the names of some of the victims of 9/11 lost at Ground Zero. We will have much more on this coming up. We're going to take a quick break, though, but we will continue our coverage of these ceremonies remembering 9/11 right here on WCNC Plus. Our own Jane Monreal is going to take over from our live Impact News studio at the top of the hour.
Gerald Thomas Atwood.
James Odefray.
Louis F. Aversano Jr.
Ezra Aviles.
Good morning, everybody. Look at all that sunshine behind me. It's going to be a breathtakingly beautiful day, just like yesterday. A little bit warmer by about 2 degrees. 84 around Charlotte, 85 for you in Lancaster, and then we have a 74 right around Boone. It's going to be a great day. Winds are fairly light as well. So for our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast, we have the lower to the mid 80s. Back to the upper 80s on Monday, yet again staying dry. The next chance for even a light rain shower to pop up is Tuesday and Wednesday, but still likely staying dry and certainly a lot more summer-like to end summer itself. Let's head over to Destiny. What's going on traffic?
Yeah, it's definitely busy across the area this morning. Still a lot of congestion on our main interstates. No accident on I-85 northbound, but still a lot of backups there throughout the morning. Also in Gaston County, we're following an accident on Wilkinson Boulevard East at Wesleyan Drive. Also going further into the Charlotte area, an accident on Independence Boulevard West at I-277. Also have a crash at Sandy Porter Road South that has the left lane blocked. Drive safely this morning.